technical difficulties. So you're used to having us with our cool big studio. We have got a Droid Galaxy 21 sitting in front of us to make sure we didn't miss things today. So welcome to ATS Live. Ask Us Anything. Again, sorry for being a little bit late here, but we're going to jump right in because you know that I try to cover as much as I can in the 30 minutes we have. So really quick, my name is Joe Gehring. I'm the Vice President of Recruiting here. Got a very special guest, Dylan. Dylan is joining us basically from our maintenance department. He's responsible for a lot of what goes on with our prep work, with kind of what goes on in the shop in general. We've had a number of drivers asking us some questions about, can we spend a little bit more time talking about, you know, what do we expect coming to ATS when we're getting seated into a brand new truck, we're selecting a truck. If we're a company driver, you know, exactly what should we be expecting that should have been taken care of in that truck before we get put into it. So really fast, I got to do a call out to say thank you for all of our ATS drivers that always attend these and kind of help us back up on some of the things that we've got to talk about. So this is session 31, and folks, 31 and 31. So I'm 31 years here at ATS. I've done 31 sessions of these. Tonight is the first time that I am not the expert in anything. And so I'm going to be really relying on you, Dylan, for a lot of this stuff for tonight. I've got a couple of folks helping me on the side here with the comments because I don't have the big screen that I'm used to for the comments, but this is ATS Live, Ask Us Anything. The number one thing that we care about is making sure that if there's a comment that's posted, that we're responding to it directly and that we don't leave any questions unanswered. So we've got kind of a little agenda of some of the things that we were told that you guys would like to hear about. However, we will always be paying attention to the comments, and so Cassidy and Scott, I won't have time to look at this. Okay. So if one of you guys could just interrupt me real quick saying, hey Joe, you got a question or a question to me, I'd really appreciate that.
Hey everybody.
Okay? All right, so thank you, Scott.
Yep.
So Dylan, welcome.
Nice to be here.
So your title at ATS is?
Prep Shop Supervisor.
Okay, so everything related to when we've got trucks coming in, whether they're lease trucks, whether they're company trucks, if a driver is turning in a truck and you've got to turn it around, even if it's a brand new truck, like if we get a new order of 2022s coming in, there's a prep cycle we have, right?
Yes, there is.
So let's do this. Let's take a couple of minutes talking about just that. So when you guys get a truck in, whether it's a new truck or it's a truck that might be a couple of years old that just got turned in by a driver that was in it for a year or two, can you talk a little bit about what the drivers can expect from what you guys are doing with the prep process?
Well, basically with the prep process is we're just going to take the truck. We want to put a truck back out there that is in as good as condition as it's going to be. So with a new truck, there's not really a whole lot that goes into it other than your basic prep. We have to, you know, put racks on it, whatever it is, prep it as a van. There's very minimal inspection to go with it because it's fresh out of the dealer, freshly PDI'd, so that's all covered there. As far as a lease truck or a company truck, when a driver gets out of it, when that comes in, our goal is to get it in and out of the shop in 18 days. So a little bit of what I do is we make sure that, you know, we get that truck in a timely manner. We'll inspect it. It's a very lengthy inspection. It's about roughly 130 point inspection, and our inspector will get 3.5 hours just to look that truck over with a fine tooth comb, find anything and everything that is wrong, you know, worn parts, broken parts, DOT items, things to do with comfort. Then once it's done with the inspection, we will get it off to detail. Then it comes back, and then our job after that is to tackle all the repairs that were found in that initial inspection. Mm-hmm. And then once that is done, and the initial inspection, we get all the PM items that may have been missed or skipped or, you know, overdue just from the truck sitting there. All those items get completed, and then it goes through another inspection, another quality inspection. It's not as lengthy as the other one, but we'll cover some of the items that maybe we didn't find because truck might have been pretty dirty and we missed a lot of the interior stuff.
Just on the pure detailing and so forth?
Yep. Okay. Sometimes it's hard if there's pet hair or something. It's hard to find, you know, tears in the interior. We'll go through, fix all that up. We want the trucks to be about dealer quality when they're going back out to be leased. So the next driver is going to get as brand new of a truck to them as the first driver would have that got the brand new truck.
So let me ask you, so if you got a truck that is 2 years old versus a truck that's 4 years old coming in, is that 100+ point inspection pretty much consistent no matter what?
The inspection is going to be the same, however, with more mileage, we're going to find more wrong with it. So the repair process is what gets more lengthy. So if you got a truck that comes in with 100,000 miles, we may only come up find 15 hours worth of work on it, but there's some trucks come in 450,000, close to that 500,000 mark, where we might get 30+ hours of work that needs to be done to make that truck good quality, ready for the next driver.
So one thing I know, Dylan, that we were talking about earlier is that you've been with us now a little over 3 years, and a lot of some of the complaints that we were getting, we've really addressed those to where we're not getting hardly any feedback from the new drivers with issues with the detailing, or for sure things about is the mattress brand new. I think you were telling me earlier that every driver is guaranteed a brand new mattress, fully wrapped, that they know that it's that is a brand new mattress. Is that right?
Yep. Once that mattress is cut open, if it comes back into the shop or prep process or driver returns it, it's gone, trash. It's no good. New mattress goes in the truck.
Good. Well, and I'm going to just pause a second. Anything coming in just yet?
Yeah, how do we get a new inverter?
Good question. So if I'm guessing it's like anything else, but so I'm going to guess I'll come to you. So if a driver gets into a truck, they're driving for 3 or 4 months, and all of a sudden their inverter blows out on them, what's the process for them to get that corrected?
Schedule an appointment to come into the shop with your fleet manager, or if you're already in there on a PM, just make sure you mention it to one of the service leaders that you deal with. We'll make sure to get it on the work order. We won't just replace the inverter without troubleshooting it, because
Sure.
It's not always the inverter. Sometimes it's other things in the truck. Electrical issues. But as long as that inverter is toast, we'll replace it.
So, and so coming back to that, so I think for anybody that's out there, we're going to spend a little bit of time talking about preventative maintenance too. And like I said, I regret that we got started a little bit later, because there's just so many good things to be talking about tonight. But one of the things that we get a lot of compliments on is the fact that the inspection process is just so detailed, and people don't understand that some of these trucks, when we got a new driver coming on board, we might get notice from your shop saying, hey, this is going to take us 2 more days. But what you guys need to understand is that we're never going to put a driver out on the road that truck is not fully past the inspection, the checkpoints, because we send you on the road, we're setting you up for failure and having a bad onboarding experience. So we'd rather delay you. And frankly, when a driver comes in, if the truck is not prepped for you as a new driver, when you're done with orientation and certified, you may not even know this, but we'll pay the new drivers $150 a day while they sit waiting for that truck, because we don't want to rush the shop to get it done before it's ready. Did you know that?
I did not, no.
So we don't try to have that. We'd rather keep the pressure on you. But any other questions that we need?
Yeah, there's a few. Is there a price difference for PMS done at an ATS terminal compared to outside? Are lease drivers able to so PMS themselves as long as they have knowledge of what they're doing?
So I know some of that. Do you want to address that at all? That's a little bit more on the contracts.
I know right? We have a heavily discounted labor rate compared to any other dealer or shop. So that's one advantage of having it here. In order, a driver themselves wouldn't be able to complete the oil change at home because it's not getting ran through our system. It's not going to complete it out. Next time you come through the shop, we want to protect the trucks as well. So we're going to want it done by either a dealer or us. So.
And to give you an answer, so the gentleman that just asked that, I didn't see what the name was. But what I'll tell you right now is, so the answer to your question is, when you come on board to ATS, when you're going through your contract, we're very specific about what the requirements are for maintenance, because the interpretation of maintenance is different to every driver. We have a set of standards. If these trucks are lease trucks that we own and they're not bought outright, we're going to do everything we can to make sure that we're doing the level of service that we believe is right for that truck. And like you said, Dylan, the rates that we offer at our shops, we make sure that it's better than the outside labor. But we do stray away from that, but we're very upfront about that in the very beginning of the contract, so everybody's clear on what the requirements are. I hear a lot of grumbling back and forth both ways, and usually when I talk with a driver who says, I just wish I could do more of this myself, and I explain to them why we can't do it. That's frankly because of some of those drivers that say they're going to do one thing, they tell us it got done, and when we double check it, they didn't, and it's the cost of us because we're going to end up inheriting that truck back, and then we've got to fix all the problems that happen with that. So it's about as direct as I can get, but we follow the agreement, and it's pretty strict to it's got to be an approved vendor or shop or one of our own shops, and I don't see us changing that anytime soon.
And that was by Andrew. He's got another question. What size inverters are in standard lease trucks? If it's standard 1500, are we allowed to get a larger size?
A lot of the lease drivers do change them out themselves and put their own inverters in there, but save the old one and put it back in when you turn your truck in, because we will put it back to our standard, and I believe it's gone up to 1800 watt.
Yeah, so 18 is what I understand is too. And I want to stress a little bit more on one thing. So listen, as a new contract driver with us, even as a company driver, but primarily with the contractors that are leasing, because they're going to have a responsibility it's like when you go rent a car. You go rent a car that's got a dent in the back bumper. You didn't note it when you turn it in. If you can't prove that dent was there when you got it, you're going to end up paying for it on insurance. We strongly always are continually encouraging the drivers, take your time when you go out to inspect that truck. Lift the hood, check the tires, check every single thing that you can possibly think of, because once you've said that you've done your inspection, if you're just in a rush to get to the truck and you kind of take it as is, you've really taken on a lot of risk. But if you notate a problem, you're protected. And one thing that I know for certain is you've got a full 30 days to report anything on that truck after you've actually been running it for a little while that needs to get corrected to a correct spot. But I'm telling you right now, if you make the mistake of not doing that inspection and taking your time doing it, you are taking on a risk. But we can't help fix that, because we're giving you every opportunity and we encourage it. But like I said, try to compare it to a rental car. You know darn well that when you turn it back in, if there's scratches on that vehicle that you didn't mark off and circle, you're now liable, and we're going to do the same thing. So anything else that we got?
You want another question?
Yeah, no, the question's got to come first.
Okay, we got Tammy. What do you do if your shop makes an error during a repair and it fails or causes damage? Do you stand behind that like outside vendors, i.e. Freightliner, etc.?
Everything we do is tracked just like a other dealer, so yes, we do. We stand behind it. We aren't going to charge a driver for a mistake that we make or a tech.
And Tammy, that's exactly what I've heard as well. I've not ever heard a driver say that we made a mistake and say that's not our problem, it's yours. So I've never heard of an issue that's come across that. So yes, you can have. I would think that you could rely on that even more, because frankly speaking, we own our dealers for a reason, because we want to give you the best service at the best rate. But it's to our own interest to make sure that your trucks are not breaking down. It's to our interest to make sure you're out there not breaking down and you're out making money. So we're not like a dealer that just cares about selling a truck or leasing a truck. We're leasing it to you, and we've got to make sure you're performing and being successful. So I hope that helps.
And then there's one last one by John. Is Quinn Gibson still there?
No, I'm going to say no. I've never met a Quinn Gibson.
My understanding is no, he is not. I believe they left in very good terms, and there's more to it, but I'm not going to, this is not the venue to do it. So, but I definitely remember Quinn quite well.
There is one more by Mike. Explain what an RRDFP is exactly. Do you guys know what that is?
I'm guessing he meant DPF. That's correct. It's your diesel particulate filter. It's a filter in your exhaust that filters all of the soot and anything that goes through there, and that's got to get changed every, I think it's 250,000 miles on most of the makes. And it's an after treatment part. Big deal, has to be done.
Okay, does it look like we got that one?
Yep, he responded with a yes.
Okay, so did that answer your question okay, Mike? I'm hoping so. You can give me a thumbs up or whatever.
Oh yeah, they added, yeah, the R&R stands replace and remove. Or remove and replace.
Okay, so remove and replace. I have no idea what the other acronym was, but you said it loud and clear, so.
Can ATS work on the Peterbilts, or do they have to go to a dealer for most repairs?
We can work on all of the makes that we have. There's we have our limitations on some things. There's some things that do need to go to the dealer for, and that's for all the makes. It's not just for Peterbilts, but we can work on everything that we have.
So, and obviously the three main units that we carry in our system are only Freightliners, Peterbilts, and Volvos. I'm going to guess that when it comes down to some warranty issues and warranty items, for sure we're going to have to go to wherever the true dealer is.
There are some warranty items that are just specifically dealer only, so
Right.
we have to send those out too.
Right, and that's what I'm really trying to say, so thanks for clarifying that. But there are some things where we have to do that to make sure that that warranty is in play. Okay, how we doing?
Good. Looks like another one maybe just came in by John. What is the update on the problems with the Peets? I have a 2021 and it keeps throwing PCC vault and TCU fault code. What can you tell me about this?
Not too up to speed on that.
Keeps throwing PCC vault.
Okay,
Right now-
so John, Dylan may not be able to answer anything, but is that something that you could take back and see if we can get some answers and we can
Yeah,
respond
we can
back to
take that.
John? So, and you guys, everybody who's ever joined our ATS lives, we know that there's some folks that join us live, but we also know there's a ton of people that watch us after the fact. We're constantly tracking these, so if we can answer the question here, 100% of the time we'll get back. So we'll get back to you and see if there's some additional information we can give you on that, okay?
I got two more questions. They
Yeah, no, go ahead.
keep coming in here.
That's good.
Chad says, why is staffing at Houston shop so low?
So, Chad, you know better than that. Staffing is low everywhere. Finding good help that we can rely on is going to be a problem in the United States for a very long time. So I don't mind the question at all. And you folks, some of you folks that are bringing up questions, if they're more generalized, that's great. If there's something specific that you're having an issue with, especially for our active drivers, I'd rather address some of this. I don't mind if there's a question that will help the entire audience on these. We'll come back to every one of these, but I'll tell you right now that staffing in St. Cloud at our corporate office is lower than what we'd like to be at. We've got McDonald's and Dairy Queens and Burger Kings and everything else on reduced hours because of staffing. Staffing is a very big industry problem right now. So there's nothing we're working harder at, and I'm in charge of driver recruiting, right? It's just as challenging for me to try to find the right type of drivers that we're looking for. So wish I could give you a better, and I'm guessing you're regarding to the Channel View office, Chad. What else we got?
Why don't the plugs work when the inverter is on? Chad said the plugs are for shore power or FIR? Sure.
For shore power. The plugs on the inverter itself, the actual unit, those are the only ones that are guaranteed to work depending on what kind of truck you have with the inverter being on. Peterbilts are the only ones where the 110 outlets will work with the inverter turned on. Otherwise, it is for shore power only. So you have to plug something in from an external source to shore power. What a lot of drivers will do is they'll run an extension cord from the inverter to the shore power plug on the outside of the truck. And then that way they can plug things into those outlets.
Okay, good.
All right. Tammy says, do you have the brake assist, passive braking, and auto steering active on your units? The auto steering has been causing crashes.
We have the brake assist, we do not have auto steering.
Okay, so kind of a short and sweet answer there, Tammy, but I hope that answered your question. So, what do you want to bring up, or should we get to a couple other ones?
David says, I have to run my truck all night due to my CPAP, and almost every other night I need to do a parked regen. Is this normal?
With excessive idling, if you're idling constantly every night, you're going to have to do more regens more often. So depending on your idle, yes, that's going to be normal. If you're able to, not all of our makes have it available, but try to bump up the idle when you are idling.
And I'm going to tell you right now, so I've got a number of drivers that have told me that are on CPAP machines. They go pick up one of those $900 Honda 2000s, and they're the enclosed units that are extremely quiet. So if you don't have an APU in your truck and you're actually idling and you're running your CPAP machine, I've been told that those work fantastic. You can count on them running through the entire evening, and you can do that without doing any idle time to your truck. So just a little recommendation for you. How are we doing on comments? We got a lot coming in. And what's happening now is we've got a lot of our active drivers asking some general questions. And I'm also wanting to make sure that we get to some of the topics for some of the new drivers so they can know what to anticipate. So if you are an active driver, I always give you guys my email on this, joe@atsinc.com. If there's some stuff for our active drivers that it's kind of specific and not more generalized, reach out to me and I'll make sure I get you some answers back on this. I just want to make sure that we don't get totally wrapped up with too much of the little stuff, but we want to answer all the questions. So you might find us coming back. If we don't directly address your question right now, you might see that we're going to come in and give you a response. So go back and track this later on so we can make sure that you see that we've responded to 100% of any of the comments or questions, okay? So how are we doing on there? Can we jump onto a couple of other things here?
Yeah, go for it.
So we talked a little bit about the prep. So at the end of the day, when a driver gets into the truck, you're expecting them, I loved what you said earlier about it should be like a new vehicle experience to where they're not inheriting something. They shouldn't be anything that stands out of, man, the last owner didn't take care of this. I've heard some things about like, I smell dog pee or cat pee. My understanding is that you guys have got some steps that you take in the dealing that really gets rid of that odor, if something like that. Because some people's noses are more sensitive than others, right?
We have deodorizer kits, we've got ozone machines, we've got all that. We try to get everything handled while we're in the shop, but obviously if you've got 20 hours of work on a truck, you get a little used to that. So some of that lingering smell might still be there when the driver comes and checks it out. Bring it up right away. We're more than happy to take care of it. We'll run our ozone machine in again overnight. We'll put another deodorizer kit. Odors tend to be a little harder to get rid of, but we'll do whatever we can to make that away, gone, a nice fresh truck.
So can I ask, if the odor doesn't get removed, have we ever done a complete replacement on the carpeting and stuff like that then?
We have. Usually that gets handled like right away at detail. If it's really bad, they catch it. They know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. And that's what I've heard as well. So I've got a lot of things here, and some of them are a little bit redundant. So I wanted to spend a lot of time on the prep. And then let's talk a little bit about preventative maintenance. So, a driver's got a current valid DOT sticker. I'm going to tell you what I know, but I'd like you to help clarify it. But I wasn't aware of this. But we require all drivers. If you're a brand new owner operator bringing a brand new 2021 Freightliner to ATS, we're going to require you to go to one of our shops and get a DOT inspection, because my understanding is that the Minnesota DOT is a lot more stringent than most states, but it is also a reward to the drivers once they get that inspection sticker. Do you know much about that?
It's a little more stringent. We actually do federal DOTs.
Okay.
So at our ATS shops, we're not Minnesota certified. It's more so the owner ops, they'll end up going to a dealer. They get their Minnesota DOT done there.
That's right. So our
Yes.
Freightliner shops do them for
Freightliner will
us.
do the Minnesota DOTs.
Okay. So you know what? That's right, because
Yep.
we don't even do those through the shop. We do all of ours through our Freightliner dealers. I was telling you guys earlier that we actually own our Freightliner dealer here in St. Cloud and a couple of others, but we own them so we can give you the shop rates, but because they also do all of the DOT, the Minnesota DOT and federal inspections. And my understanding is that inspection is so critical that when we put a sticker on the truck from Freightliner, and they'll do inspections on the Peterbilt, so I don't care if you're coming in with a Western, I don't care if you're coming in with a Volvo or whatever it might be, they're going to inspect any truck coming on the fleet. That's because that inspection is tied to the inspector, and if there's any violations, the inspector is the one who gets basically a violation. And again, I was just told that by our Freightliner dealer.
Yeah.
So let's get into the actual PM. So we got an ATS lease truck. A new driver comes in, gets into the truck, does the walkthrough inspection. I spent a little bit of time talking about the importance of doing that walk around inspection to make sure, in case there's any issues, lights that are coming on, what sensors going off, that they basically just bring it back and you guys make sure that everything is on top notch.
They bring it back the night they get into the truck, and we will get it in as soon as we can. And the goal is you're going to leave with a truck that's got no gremlins.
Good.
To the best of our abilities.
So in your 3 years here, I keep talking about PM, but I'm going to actually adjust here a little bit. So when a driver goes out there and they need maintenance done, they've got to schedule an appointment. What are the ways that they can schedule to come in to drop the truck off, or whatever the problem might be?
As far as my knowledge goes, I think they can either get a hold of their fleet manager or through road service if they're broken down over the road. Road service may reach out to other shops depending on the situation. Otherwise, they might try to circumvent them or bring them back to one of our shops. Obviously, depending on the case,
Yep.
what's going on, downtime, and then otherwise, if it's non-critical, not a major breakdown, go through the fleet manager. They'll contact the shop. When they go to make their appointment request, our system's very good at tracking all the PM items, any other tasks that may have been missed or entered for that truck, and everything's going to pop on that appointment request, especially when they pull through the safety lane to check in for that appointment. We open up the work order, and they may have missed that they might be due for a DPF filter or power steering filter change or any other preventative maintenance.
So can I ask, so my name is Joe. I got truck number 1111. I come in for a basic PM, and I tell you, I've got this one sensor light going on, and you're working on the truck, and you end up finding a couple of more things. What's the process of communicating to that true owner-operator, the true independent contractor, of conducting the work? Do they approve that every time before you do that work?
Yeah, so our techs will go through their inspections. They'll do the PM, come back with their list that they found on the inspection. They'll hand it to us. We'll go through the items. We'll kind of sort out what's DOT, what's non-DOT, and then we call the driver. We go over the whole list, and driver will say yay or nay to the non-DOT items, and DOT items need to get taken care of.
Right.
That's ATS policy.
But the driver is aware of that.
But they're aware of it, yes.
Okay.
And then usually it's typical, how long is it going to take, whatever parts.
And for the record, for owner-operators bringing their own truck on, when I told you that every truck gets inspected, the ultimate rule is we don't touch anything on that truck. We do the inspection, but when it comes to even decals or our Omni tracks, nothing at all is ever touched on that truck until you give us written permission to do that. And like you were saying earlier, Dylan, we get 2 estimates back. It's a DOT estimate, which is you can't come to ATS until this is done, and then hey, we found this if you'd like us to take care of it. And they're always pretty impressed with the fact that our shop rates are, I think it's like $81 or something like that compared to what's on the street. I'm not sure if that's changed much lately, but the rate that you get internal, even a new driver coming on board for any of those repairs gets our current shop rates. I want to just pause a second. How are we doing, Scott, on comments?
Doing pretty good.
Excuse me.
Angel, I'm going to slaughter your last name, sorry.
So what's your question?
Cornelius, he just said he just filled out an application. That's cool.
Fantastic.
Let's see here.
Well, you can keep through. I mean, if you find one, just let me know. I just want to make sure I'm coming to you because you can tell whether or not we've got some that we've missed or not.
Yeah,
so.
some of the guys here are answering questions, which is great. But how is the flatbed freight in the winter?
Good, and we don't mind shifting topics. So I always have a topic of discussion for each ATS Live. Today it's on prep and maintenance, but I'll tell you in general, our freight is killer. For about the last 12 weeks, and I got a couple of my recruiters on line with me right now. But the earnings we're seeing today are the best I've seen in my 31 years here at Anderson Trucking. You know, there's a day that for a company driver, we needed to get to a point where they're making about $1,500 on a weekly basis. And I'm going to tell you that that's the extreme low end right now on both the flatbed and the van side. We've got company drivers regularly making that 2,000 plus area, but the range is really dependent upon how hard you work. If you're out there, the freight is good, the money is very, very good. And so if you're coming out to work and you're going to stay out 2-3 weeks at a time, the earnings are there for you to have. We do have some drivers that are actually doing so well right now that they're actually taking more time off and not capitalizing on the amount of money they can because they're okay with a little bit less. So it really depends upon what your work ethic is and how long you want to be out. But our drivers that have been with us quite a while, and even our new drivers, if you're that driver that 2 weeks out at a time is not an issue for you, you're going to be making, like I said, the high teens up to the low 2,000 areas as a company driver. our lease drivers are making in the low 2,000s up to over 3,000 after all fixed expenses. And listen, we got folks that are making better than that, but I'd rather give you the conservative ranges than to try to sell you the top dollar. And it always comes down to how hard are you going to work. So hopefully that answers your question, but freight has been outstanding. We've got our forecast coming in with our customers going into, and frankly, it's not just like in the first or second quarter. We got a lot of forecasts coming in that's taking us through the year end 2022. We don't see a slowdown in the freight volumes, and we don't see a reduction in the freight rates that are coming into us right now. And this has been going on well over 12 months. Okay, hopefully I answered that. What else we got?
Don Neal says, that's great. How's the winter freight?
You know what? I got to be honest. Except through the holiday seasons, the seasonality, especially on the flatbed side, really doesn't fluctuate a whole lot. There are actually times during the season that the van freight actually peaks up, but we're not anticipating, like I said, that when you're getting into the Christmas, New Year's, just because of factory shutdowns and so forth, that usually is a little bit of a dip. But when it comes to a standard dip at all, it's so solid right now. And we're hearing a little bit that because of the shutdowns, because of COVID and the reopening of a lot of these facilities, that a lot of these manufacturers are going to stay running through a lot of the holiday, offering some additional pay so they can get back caught up in some of their production. So we're pretty excited about what's coming up in the future.
Are you seeing lower turnover? Are you seeing lower turnover because of the freight rates? That's Lance.
Well, so 100%. We've always been proud of a low turnover here, Lance. And the bottom line is, I pay attention to two things. What is our turnover, and what is the average tenure of our drivers? A lot of people don't know this, but the average tenure of an ATS driver is over 5 years. I always joke with new drivers in our orientation class saying, so how many of you were with your last carrier for the last 5 years? Very, very seldom that I see a hand go up. And so the turnover rates are better because of the fact that the freight rates are so good, especially if you're a seasoned driver and you're used to the freight systems and you're used to the lanes and how to make sure that you're reducing your deadhead miles and all of that. But to answer your question, for sure, turnover has reduced even more because of the strong freight rates. So, kind of counting on you here, Scott, or do we keep on chatting?
No, I'm just reading them. They're coming in fast. Mike and Joanna say, do we do much out of the ports to help with this backlog?
Well, so listen, a lot of our flatbed drivers have to have TWIC cards, and those TWIC cards are what allow us to get on and off the ports. But yes, I don't know if folks know this. We've got a facility down in Jacksonville, Florida. We run barges over to Puerto Rico and we do freight into Hawaii and Alaska. So Anderson Trucking is directly related because we actually ship a lot of freight internationally and to a lot of the U.S. territories. So we're very near and dear to the port congestion. And frankly speaking, if the rates are right, as drivers for ATS, there are certain rate levels that if they don't get to a level, we're not going to take it because we've got too much other freight that's being offered to us. And the more we can get from the customer, the more of that gets passed on to our drivers. So, but without a doubt, we've got a lot of efforts. We've done a couple of things, even on a volunteer basis, to help with some of the congestion, more so in the ports where there's been disasters with hurricanes and stuff like that. But we're active at the ports if the freight is right and if the customers are right.
Just a few people saying, yeah, you're right. They love the paychecks.
Good.
Let's see here.
I always appreciate you guys obviously saying that because our current drivers, because a lot of this format was actually set up for drivers that were kicking tires and trying to decide whether or not ATS was right for them. And so we drew this Ask Us Anything to allow you guys to kind of basically challenge to make sure is what you're hearing on the street legit and are we willing to say it publicly. I love the fact that all of these are recorded because anything that you ask that I answer, there it is publicly documented, and you can walk in right away saying, see, you told me this, and I haven't had that happen in 31 weeks yet. So
Tammy asked copies of work invoices.
No idea what that means, Tammy, sorry.
Invoices for work done on leased trucks.
Oh, so are you asking, so there's an absolute maintenance log. So through our leasing arm, any maintenance that's ever been done, yes, you can go to our CES group. every lease that we're doing is through our competitive equipment sales. And all you have to do is talk to your rep there and ask for a copy of those. We even have had drivers that, I don't know if we do this automatically, but if a driver asks for all of the maintenance done on that truck before they lease it, we provide all of that documentation, yes.
Practice we have started as well is every time a truck comes in for a service, when we're all done, we park it on the service island, notify the driver. We leave that printed copy of the work order invoice on the seat along with the letter reminding them you're going to get a survey in a couple days, and we ask that you fill them out because we want to know how the shop performed. So on that work order invoice, you've got a view of everything that was done on the truck, text stories, all that.
Does any of this go through the ATS mobile app that you're aware of, Dylan?
Not that I'm aware of. I know the
I don't know either. So
survey comes on the Qualcomm or the Omni One now.
Right. Okay. Good.
She meant billing to the driver, she says.
I'm not understanding it, Cassidy. So Tammy, I'll come back to your message after the live session, and I'll try to read through that. I don't know if I'm understanding it unless you want to try to restate it to just ask it a little bit more clearly. But I'm not understanding what I'm thinking. I thought I just answered what you were asking for, but I guess maybe I didn't.
And by the way, with Tammy, apparently she's just joined the ATS family.
Good.
This past Monday.
Ah, fantastic, Tammy. I thought I recognized the name, but
this Monday coming up.
Oh, you're coming up into orientation, and maybe I saw you on the upcoming orientation list. Good. So, and Tammy, for sure, your recruiter. I don't know if your recruiter's on right now, but I will tell you that anything when it comes to the records of what's visible to you and how does the transaction work, they'll get you a complete overlay of that. And if they're not doing their job, they report to me, and I just gave everybody how to contact me. It's just joe@atsinc.com, and feel free to reach out to me if you don't get that. So, okay.
Paul helped her out and said she's asking, does the shop give the driver detailed invoices to the driver for what is being done to the truck? He believes.
Okay, well that makes sense.
Yes, we do.
Yeah.
That's that. We'll print it out, staple it, put our little letter on it, and then we set it on the driver's seat. And then we'll call the driver, let them know their truck is ready to be picked up. So
it's not generalized, Tammy. In other words, it's no different than when you take your shop and if they replaced a spark plug and it costs $1.92, they're going to put that part number on there. It's from what I've seen, the part cost and then the labor part are separated for detail when you're receiving the entire invoice. So, well, listen, I'm going to jump to a couple more. What do we got for time there, Scott?
What's our time?
7:46.
So we went way over, but we were really late. But I'm gonna kind of jump into. There are so many things maintenance related, right?
Yeah.
Let's face it, maintenance talk is just a big question. I was asked specifically by a number of drivers, can you talk about the prep so we know what we're getting into and kind of how the whole PM works within the truck? And I think you did a great job. I want to spend one second talking about extended coverage, after hours coverage. Do you know much about that?
not a whole lot.
Okay. So when there's extended coverage, my understanding is that if a driver calls in and it's after hours, their job is to help you. They're going to help find a service company provider that is going to, if you have a tire that needs to get changed, dispatching somebody out to do that. If it's somebody that needs to tow you to go get mechanical work done, we do have extended coverage 24/7. So obviously we have our primary shop during the day, but then we also have the emergency service after hours. So we do always have 24/7. Like anything else, if there's a lot going on, and I'm going to tell you right now, weather, really bad storms, things like that, can increase the volume because more and more drivers are stuck in problems. But overall, we've heard some very, very good things about that. But Dylan, before I go to any last questions here, because folks, I try to keep this to a maximum of 30 minutes. If you do have an interest in hearing more about this or topics like this, make sure you let us know, because this is exactly what we're here for after hours on Wednesday nights. But Dylan, when it comes to your shop and knowing that the driver experience is absolutely number one to all of us. I don't care if it's in recruiting or for the actor drivers that are with us. Any talking points that we didn't talk about that you think these drivers would want to know about as far as what we're doing and how we're doing it?
I think we covered it. We want to make sure that the drivers got the best truck to them when they get in at first, and then when it comes time to it, we want to take care of that truck. We want to keep the driver on the road. We want to keep them happy and want them to keep driving.
Good.
So,
Okay, and I'm glad to hear about the survey reports.
yeah.
So you guys, like I said, I don't know, we might have missed a couple of questions here. I want to apologize again. We had a little bit of a technical problem, and so we're actually streaming right now from a Droid phone instead of our normal studio. But thank you guys so much for taking the time to join ATS Live. The questions were outstanding, and again, if we didn't get to every one of them, I've got recruiters on watching it now. Your questions will get responded to. If they didn't, again, my name is Joe. Email is easy, joe@atsinc.com. I want to thank our active drivers for joining. Absolutely want to say, if you're a new driver who's looking at considering Anderson Trucking Service, we do these with a purpose, and the purpose is to answer any questions. You notice how we were talking about maintenance and PM, and we all of a sudden diverted over to whatever the questions might have been. That's what we're going to do, and we will never bypass a question. So join us next week at 7 p.m. We're actually going to have a little bit of fun next week. We're going to be doing some demos on some of the utensils for in your trucks and some of the cooking ideas that we've been shown. And I got a number of my recruiters that are going to join me for this demo. So, but again, thanks for joining ATS. If this is something that you plan on pursuing and you'd like to know more, obviously visit us at drive4ats.com. One of my recruiters will be back and contact you literally within moments after you do that. And we just want to say thank you for joining us. Take care, everybody. Thanks again, Dylan.
Yeah, thank you.